We are holding now in Perek Zion of Sefer Daniel. As we said numerous times, the first 6 Pesukim, those that were not here before, the first 6 Pesukim of Daniel are the stories, and the next 6 Pesukim of Daniel are his visions that he saw. Now, Bechlal, when it comes to Daniel being a Navi or not, there's a discussion. In some places, Daniel is not called a Navi. He's just called having Ruach HaKodesh. In some places, he seems to be considered a Navi. Hashem is showing him visions over here. And these visions are what he writes in the next few Pesukim. We mentioned already the Gemara numerous times that the Gemara says Daniel could have been Mashiach if you go by people that passed away. So Daniel is very much connected to Mashiach. Daniel also, in this product that we're going to learn, Daniel is over here going to famously say the Kates. The Kates means he's going to say when Mashiach is supposed to come. However, it doesn't say a clear number. He just says a very cryptic statement. And as we'll get there, we'll discuss what the different opinions of what it means. And then later on in the next Pesukim also. What's more going on in Daniel in this vision is Nevi'im have visions, but there's different levels of Hashem communicating with individuals. Some are called Ruach HaKodesh, some are called Nevuah. The highest is Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm not sure how to answer that question. What's higher, vision or speech? I guess it's a combination of both, but I can't say for sure. The Mefarshim discuss a lot of times what level of communication. And we all have from time to time like a gut feeling, like I have to do something. Sometimes you have this gut feeling to do something and it ends up being very beneficial for you. Like I don't know why I did this and it worked out. Shkacha Protestant stories, people have that all the time. You can't say that's called a nevuah, but some kind of godly intervention where the Hashem pushes a person in the right direction. But tzaddikim obviously have Ruach HaKodesh on a whole different level. So what the status is Daniel, like I said, is up for discussion. But upon him, he's sharing a vision over here. And this vision encompasses the entire history and there's many, many interpretations as we go along. So first of all, Pasuk Aleph begins, Bishnas Chado Belshazzar Melech Bavel. This is the first year of Belshazzar. Who remembers Belshazzar was king number what of Bavel?
Number 3.
Very good. King number 3. King number 1 was Yosul. Who was king number 1 of Bavel? Nevuchadnetzar. King number 2? King number 2? Evil Meroidach. And king number 3 is Belshazzar. So we already in the previous 6 Pesukim passed after Belshazzar. We already had stories of Daniel with Daryavish. However, we're going now to the vision. So this vision he had in the first year of Belshazzar. That says the pasuk Daniel Chelem Chazo. This is in Aramaic. He saw a dream. There was visions in his head while he was lying down. Beidayin Chel Machsav. Reish Milin Amar, then he wrote down the dream. Rashi Dvarim. Rashi Dvarim means he wrote Nekudas. Now, there's different ways of interpreting this Nekudas. Some say he just wrote for himself a little bit, but our Perek that we're going to see are all the details. Some say Rashi Dvarim because some of what we're going to see he already saw earlier in the previous vision of Nevuchadnetzar. Either way, he's writing down these things. Now, why did Hashem show this vision to Daniel? Meaning, we have throughout Tanakh many stories of Navi, and the Navi is always telling the Yidden what they have to do. We know the Rebbe is a Navi, and the Rebbe is telling us instructions for our generation, what we have to do. And those Nevuahs that are relative, that are important for us to know, are written down. As we're going to see, this Nevuah seemingly has no bearing on us. It talks about the history of the world, basically. It goes through all the kings and empires that were there, and it says some fascinating stories, but why do we have to know all these things? When it comes to history, many people love history, and many people think history is the most boring subject. I personally think that the only reason why history could be boring is because of a bad teacher, because history is basically stories. History is stories that happened in the past, and if you know how to say a good story, then it's always interesting. But even though it's interesting, but it doesn't mean that it's Torah. What's the lesson for us? So why Bechlal? We're going to see that Hashem is giving Daniel a vision over here, encompassing the entire next few thousand years until Mashiach comes. So why is that important? Nazan? So one explanation is that Daniel is living at the times of Belshazzar, as we said, and Belshazzar is the 3rd king of Nevuchadnetzar, and Daniel knew about the Nevuah of Yirmiyahu Hanavi. Yirmiyah Hanavi had prophesied, that told the Yidden what's going to happen at the end of the Churban of the Beis Hamikdash. He told them what's going to be for the next 70 years. And now the 7 years are about to come to an end, and Daniel doesn't know what's supposed to happen now. So therefore, Hashem is telling him in Nevuah what's going to happen from now on weiter. Which you can say, in other words, Hashem always makes sure to let the world know what's going on. There's in their hair, they have the section for their stories. They call it the Rebbe Gefinen Aveg. The Rebbe always find a way. The Rebbe always makes sure to take care of the Chassidim. The Eibishter takes care of the people. Hashem makes sure He doesn't leave us hanging. Everything is found in the Torah, so Hashem is telling Daniel the continuation of what's going to happen. So that's one explanation why he has this nevuah, just to have everything in Torah. You want to learn history, so the Torah has it all. A second thing is Daniel here, like I said, is going to be talking about Mashiach. So when we learn the Perek of Daniel now, and we see Daniel said this nevuah many years before all the stories that happened, and yet whatever he said ended up happening. So al derech zeh, when Daniel speaks about Mashiach, he can give us that emunah that what he said about Mashiach will happen as well, which is similar to what many Chassidim, when they talk about the Rebbe's promise that our generation is a generation of Geula. So it's a big challenge. We're already so many years after Gimel Tammuz and Mashiach didn't come yet. So what is that supposed to mean? So one of the things that push Chassidim is that the Rebbe told us many things, and whatever the Rebbe said happened exactly. So just like those things happened, we're sure this is going to happen as well. I know and expected it to be so long, say that. But we trust that the Rebbe, whatever he said, will be true. So the same thing over here, Daniel is saying, look, I'm telling you everything. You see, everything is true, so Mashiach will be true. So that's another reason why we have to know the story to see that all these details that happen will happen as well. So Daniel writes the Nevuah, he writes it in Aramaic. Those that were following, the Pesukim, a number of Pesukim are Aramaic, and the reason they say is because this is still in the times of Malchus Bavel. This was the Lashon of the Bavlim, but from next Perek Ches goes back into Lashon Kodesh, because over there was it's the end of the reign of the Nevuchadnetzar, so there was no point anymore to use their language. So now we begin the actual vision. What's the vision? Pasuk Beis. Anei Daniel v'Omar, Daniel lifts his voice and he says, Chozei Haveis, I was seeing Bechezvi in my vision, Im Leilya, it was at night, meaning in my vision I felt that it's the nighttime, Va'aru arba ruchei shmaya megichon liyama rabba. And I see the four winds of the world are swirling the big sea. So this is the vision that he sees. He sees a huge ocean, and he sees winds. I don't know if you can see an actual wind. The wind, you see the result of the wind. I guess you can see maybe debris flying along with the wind. Doesn't say exactly what he saw, but he says he sees the wind, all four winds from four directions, north, south, and east and west, and they're all swirling the sea. The whole sea is in front. He sees the ocean, and he sees like a huge, basically, storm, but just wind, and blowing everything up, and making whirlpools and different movements within the sea. And he sees that as he's watching this, he sees the sea. Some say he sees the sea is drying up, and then pasuk gimel, va'arba chevon ravravon solkon min yama. Four huge creatures come out of the ocean. Shonyon da minda. Each one is different from the other. So he sees this huge vision. Some say that the ocean is drying up, and then these four huge creatures are coming out of the ocean. Now we know in general that the creatures of the ocean are larger than the creatures of the earth, right? The largest creature on land, the pashas would be an elephant. The largest creature in the ocean would probably be blue whale. But even smaller whales can also be bigger than an elephant, but for sure a blue whale is a lot bigger than an elephant. And Bechlal, it's Yedua that the creatures of the sea there are small, tiny creatures obviously as well, but the creatures of the sea are usually considered bigger, and this is a reason why the vision is dafka from the sea, to show that these creatures are huge and they're very powerful. Now, what are these four creatures? So in the Nevuah itself, he's going to describe the four creatures, show what each one looks like, and then Daniel is going to go and ask a malach about the fourth creature, which is the most scary one, as we'll see. And the malach explains to Daniel what he sees, and then the nevuah pretty much finishes. So what does it actually mean? The Mefarshim have a long time explaining it. The first three creatures are pretty much universal. Everybody agrees what the nimshal is. And the fourth creature, there's a huge machlokes, the Ramban, Ibn Ezra, and others arguing what the fourth creature means. And we'll get to that later. We'll see what the meanings are. But according to everybody, the four creatures are basically summarizing the history of the world from Nevuchadnetzar until Mashiach's times. Who are the superpowers of the world? So today the superpower, who's the biggest superpower today? Trump. Who was before Trump the big superpower? You. Putin. The superpowers today are America. How long is America alive for? Anybody knows? 250. You should have seen that any billboard he goes. 250. We're still 249. We're almost 250, right? Next week we're having a birthday, 250 years old. Shamat al zeh.
We went to fireworks, please.
It's Shabbos. That's an issue. They all have either Friday night or Matzah Shabbos. Their fireworks. So, and it's always by dusk, Shkia time. So either way, you won't be able to make it. Technically, Matzah Shabbos, maybe we can go. But for the next week, you're going to be hearing at nights booms the whole time. They already started. They're making fireworks. Officially, it's illegal, but whatever. So before America was a superpower, who was the superpower of the world 250 years ago? Russia. You guys are... England.
Spain.
Before that was Spain, probably. The Ottoman Empire would be arguably a superpower for our time. So there's back and forth. But in general, what we say the superpower is pretty much, for the past many, many years, it goes by religion. That's how it's in Torah. And for the most part, it's either the Christian Empire. America is correct. America is not a superpower for 250 years. It took a while till it became a superpower. Slowly it got bigger and more. 150. I'm not sure how to measure when we began to be called a superpower. But in general, 80 years. That's when we became our status of superpower. Okay, but the point is that in general, all the countries that are superpowers are pretty much either Christians or Muslims. Those are America's Christian for sure. Yeah, America's a Christian. He's a believer. The Trump, Charlie Kirk also. It's all those people. They're all Christians. And then so America was also Muslim for a while, right? By Obama, we had a shtickle Muslim, but that's actually hinted to in Nevuchadnetzar's vision. New York is Muslim right now, true. So there's actually, those things are hinted to in the Mefarshim and in the Pesukim, but so in general, from after the Churban of the second Beis Hamikdash, it's pretty much those two religions, it's Christianity and Islam. Those are the two superpowers of the world, give or take, when it was the Ottoman Empire for a while, or whatever, the Almohadim and whoever it was. Those were the two big things. But here we're going to be talking about, this is Daniel. Daniel is before the second Beis Hamikdash, so he's going to be talking about what's happening in his time for the next, till Mashiach comes. So he sees these four creatures, and they look like wild animals. Each one is different than the other one. Another remez that Chazal say is that the reason why the four creatures are dafke coming from the ocean is because even though on land as well, there's constantly predators and animals killing each other, but in the ocean it's apparently a lot more. In the ocean, it's a lot more fish swallowing up each other, which I would think what the Chazal are trying to say is that even though you have predators on land, and everyone has watched National Geographic probably, or BBC World, whatever it is, and you've seen animals attacking each other. But b'derech klal, they first kill the animal and they tear it to pieces. Which land animal swallows other animals whole? Snakes, right? Pretty much the only one that just swallows it. Every animal takes bites and chunks, and that's how it eats. But in the ocean, most of them swallow each other. There are also in the oceans animals that bite from each other, but it's a lot more swallowing one another. That happens more by fish. So therefore, we're comparing it to fish, the marine animals, because these countries end up swallowing one another. What kind of animal is the ze'ev? The ze'ev is what kind of animal? Ze'ev. So it also, the Mefarshim point out, even though we're mentioning only four superpowers, there were obviously many, many, many more empires from Daniel's times until Mashiach comes. But we're specifically referring to these four, and these are the four that are mainly swallowing each other. But I said that, and the sea creatures are also those that bite each other. So there are also empires that bit into each other, so to speak, and didn't manage to swallow each other. Yeah. We're going to see that there are situations where somewhat of swallowing. They just took over and they just took it over as is, and now they became the rulers. Chaim, please stop. Yeah, Russia swallowed Crimea. Yeah, there are times where it's attack like that. It just changes ownership, and that's it. Okay, so he just sees these four creatures. Each one is different than the other. So what are the four creatures? What are the four kingdoms? So it's pretty, like I said, for the most part, the first three are pretty clear. It's Malchus Bavel, Malchus Paras Umadai, Malchus Yovon, and Malchus Reimi. That's usually how most of the Farshim say it. The kingdom of Bavel, Babylonia, which is Nevuchadnetzar, and then we have Paras Umadai, Persia and Media, which is Kurdish and Daryavish, which is Iran, which is today, and then we have Achashverosh is part of that too. Well, that's hinted to later in a few Pesukim. And then we have Malchus Yavon, the Greeks. Who was the first of the Greeks? The main Greek ruler? Alexander the Great, very good. And after that goes Malchus Reimi. So now, so the Chazal tell us that when it says that the creatures were different than one another, so besides we'll soon see the descriptions of what they looked like, very different than one another, they also had different type of exelis, different type of, so to speak, warnings and punishments. The Nevuchadnetzar, he had exiled people have to bow down to his idol, and his punishment was, whoever doesn't bow down to the idol, what was the punishment?
Death.
What kind of death? Nevuchadnezzar was? The fire. That was Hanani, Mishael, Azariah. When afterwards is Achashverosh. Achashverosh, his way of trying to bother the Yidden was by inviting them to the Su'udah and making them sin by the Su'udah. Also, Achashverosh made Haman in charge, and Haman's rule was you have to bow down to him. What did Haman say? If you don't bow down to him, what was his punishment? That's by hanging. Allah ate. It's a different type of, so that's why it's different. And then afterwards, Yavon is Antiochus, which is a continuation of Alexander. He was famous for the exile against Bris Milah, and he said whoever makes exile a bris for his child will be killed by the sword, which is a different type of punishment. And Rome is the Christians. They just made all the terrible degrees, Inquisition, the Crusades, all those terrible things, which are the worst, as it says weiter, all the things about that. Okay, so this is just a general overview. One at a time. Huh?
Those are swords and fire and stuff.
What, the Romans? So we're going to see later that Taka, whatever Rome did, there was already no chidushim, but they just did it a lot worse than before. So the stories of the Crusades and the Inquisition are horrifying, and maybe because we have more information about it, but the way the Chazal say is that it was Taka a lot more intense. It wasn't just the same kind of fire. Hanani, Mishael, Zar was only 3 of them were thrown into the fire, and they were safe, and that's it. Inquisition, Taka burned, Rahman al-Islam, many Yidden were killed, burned at the stake. And the Crusades, what they did was terrible. It wasn't just like killing a few people. Yeah. Huh? Hanging is connected to skill. We just had that one last week's Chumash. Hanging is, it says kolan is kolin nitlin. Whoever has to be stoned ends up the body gets hung afterwards also. So they go together. All right. So now we're going to describe these creatures. When I read the first pasuk of the first creature, it reminded me of the Wizard of Oz. Anyone know what the Wizard of Oz is? What's the Wizard of Oz? The first color movie. What's the story of the Wizard of Oz? Anybody knows? I only remember one thing from a kid that I watched it many years ago. Something about there was a wizard that was able to solve all the problems, and a few people went. There was Dorothy, I forgot where she was going, but then there was a lion that was missing a heart, right? Yeah. That's what I remember. The lion missed a heart. He didn't have a heart. He had a heart. It was no regularly lions have courage, and this lion didn't have courage, and they had to go to the wizard to get blessed. They were supposed to help them, and they got there, and at the end they found that the wizard was really a hoax, or something like that. A regular person, something like that. I forget all the pratim. Whatever, it's a famous Goy Shemaisa, I'm sure, but I think that this story comes from this pasuk over here. Kadmeisa, the first animal coming out of the ocean. Ki Aryeh, to point out, it looks like a lion. So it's not mamish a lion, it looks like a lion. We'll soon see, Nevuchadnetzar had a fascination with lions, so this is connected to Nevuchadnetzar to Bavel, but it's like a lion. And then he adds, V'gapin dinishar lo. And it had wings of an eagle. Nesher usually said eagle, even though we said it may be a vulture, but we'll just keep it simple as an eagle. So it's the body looks like a lion, and it has wings of an eagle. Continues Daniel, Chazei Haves, I was watching and I saw, Ad dimeritu gapa, I saw the wings being plucked out, Unetilas min ara, and it was removed from the ground, and it was put only on its feet like a human. And it was given the heart of a man instead of having the heart of a lion. So that part reminded me of the Wizard of Oz. If it's connected or not, weiß ich nicht. I don't know who wrote the story. Anybody knows? Some random dude, obviously.
What does the animal look like?
So we have a description over here, not just how it looked like, what it turned into. It looked like a lion with wings. And then the wings, he watched the wings being plucked and removed. And then he saw it being removed from the ground. And then he saw it being put up on its feet. And then he saw it given the heart of a human. This is all Daniel saw. As I said, this is what the Pasuk is saying. The Pasuk is not, there's no interpretation in the Pesukim of what it means. But pretty much all the Mefarshim, as far, I didn't see anyone saying differently, everyone agrees, I actually saw years ago, before AI was, before I know of AI, I saw someone, there's drawings of a Christian guy that he made drawings of all the four creatures, or the first three. The fourth one we'll see, you can't really make a picture of. But he made a picture of all three of them. So yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, to make today, a lion with wings is nothing. It takes 2 seconds in AI to make such a picture. But all the pratim, and you have to make a gif, how the wings fall off, and then it starts standing up, whatever. It shouldn't be a big deal. Anyone, so you put the pasuk inside, take a picture of the pasuk, make an image out of this, and Shalom Yisrael. Okay, so what is this referring to? As we said, it has to do with Daniel. So to remind ourselves that, with Nevuchadnetzar. We had earlier in the Daniel, we had the vision, we had the first vision of Nevuchadnetzar. Nevuchadnezzar's vision, he saw already a statue that the head was out of gold and the chest was silver, and then there was copper and the thighs were clay and copper. And already then Daniel told him what this means is the four kingdoms and you, Nevuchadnezzar, are gold. So you're the gold standard. The gold standard of an empire, a superpower, is Nebuchadnezzar. As much as America is a superpower, it's not a superpower. Meaning, look, if Iran, the drum is giving in to whatever they want, and also with Russia, as much as he wants to show that he's telling Putin what to do, Putin is doing what he wants what to do. Whatever. He makes himself as if he's in charge. But at the end of the day, he tried in certain places, he was not matzliach. And all superpowers, there's always going to be someone that they have, some countries are not completely bottled to them. You don't have a superpower that's mamish, has an iron control over the entire world. The gold standard and dictator world power is Nebuchadnezzar. What? North Korea also? Yeah, for sure not. That's, what? Of their own people. We're talking about the world power. Oh, people. I can assert dominance over you and I have full control of you. It's not counting. So I mean, if I control you, it's the whole world. But Stam is controlling the whole world is a superpower. Yeah, no, Russia has control of its own people as well, for sure. But we're talking about those over the world. He's a superpower of the world, but he still doesn't have full control. So the gold standard is Nebuchadnezzar. And that is why it's compared to a lion, because a lion shows on the most powerful creature, even though those that study animals will tell you that lions are not necessarily the strongest, right? There's a whole machlokes, what's stronger, a lion or a tiger? Some say tigers are stronger than lions, but most people say that, even though lion still remains the king of the jungle, kivyachol. And for sure, when it comes to an elephant versus a lion, there's no way a lion's going to win. And other creatures as well, a lion versus a giraffe. I don't know. I said it. I don't know if you can take it down, but I don't think the giraffe is going to win it. If the giraffe happens to kick in the right place, it'll knock it out. But if a lion's is underwater and there's a crocodile there, it's lav davke. He'll every fight automatically. Chazal make it sound like the lion walks down in the jungle. Everyone just bows down because everyone's terrified of it. So it's more, in my understanding, it's more of a mashal, not literal. But by that mashal, for sure, people have that approach that the lions are the king of the jungle. What? Chenisht. I said that. You're supposed to. Okay, very good. So Nebuchadnezzar was, like I said, obsessed with lions to the point that Nebuchadnezzar had a pet lion that he would actually ride on the lion. That was, instead of using a horse or a donkey, he used a lion. In addition, on his throne, he had lions engraved. On his flag, he had a lion engraved. And it says that he actually looked somewhat like a lion. And it says that he was also had the mazel, of lion. How do you say lion in the mazel? Anybody knows? Leon? Leo? Leo, I think it's Leo. Yeah, Leo, and that's the mazel of Chodesh Av, and that's why he was able to destroy the Beis Hamikdash in Chodesh Av and Tisha B'Av, because he has this power of being connected to lions. So we have, this is all the Nebuchadnezzar connected to lions. So that's the vart of why he looks like a lion. What's the vart of the eagle's wings? So here, the vart is that Nebuchadnezzar is such a superpower, so the lion shows on power, on might, as we say in the famous Mishnah, have a giber kari, as strong as a lion. What's the vart of a nesher? What does the Mishnah say? Huh? Bold as a leopard. Huh? Owl? Kal. What does kal mean? How does it, huh? Bold is as kanomer. You're mixing up. Swift. Speedy. So when you a lot of times when you're very powerful, you can't move as quick. Like the tanks. Tanks are a very powerful vehicle of war, but tanks can't go too fast. I mean, they go fast. They make it better and better. But tanks, by definition, have to go slower. And the smaller something is, the quicker it can go. But since the Nevuchadnetzar, Bavel, they're the superpowers, so they had all the milas. That's the word of the wings of the eagle. That in addition to being as powerful as a lion, he also had the swiftness of an eagle to go and spread out. And Taka, in a number of places of Tanakh, even though I said before, the Bavel is compared to a lion, in some places, he's actually compared to a nesher, a whole bunch of Pesukim that bring that out. Another vart of Nevuchadnezzar being compared to an eagle is the vart of Nevuchadnezzar trying to go up Lamayla. Nevuchadnezzar, like many of the kings, tried to compete with the Eibishter Kivyachol, to fly high, and we know the eagle is considered one of the highest flying birds, so the eagle wants to go up higher and higher to Kivyachol override Hashem. And there are Pesukim where where Nevuchadnezzar is saying, Kivyachol, I'm greater than the Eibishter, till eventually Hashem showed him who's boss, obviously. So those are the two Nekudas. So this is the beginning of what Daniel is saying, the beginning of Nevuchadnezzar, the lion and the eagle, and then there's the second half of the Pasuk, as we mentioned, as the wings are falling out, and as he gets removed from the world, and as he stands up like a human, and those details in Mitzvah Hashem we will talk about next time.